let's get the elephant out of the way here. The Jameis question, right? Where are you at with Jameis right now in terms of being the quarterback of this team? And well, actually, let's just start there. Where are you at?
I'd be pretty surprised if he's not. I mean, I don't think you can make that move that quick. I will say that if things were to continue to progress in a negative way, I don't think the leash is that long. I mean, they're paying him $7 million a year. I don't get the sense that their offseason actions kind of tell you the truth. You can't lie with what you try to do. So he's the guy they have. I don't think he's their guy, though. I don't think he has to be the starter every single week. But I think even having this conversation after 2 weeks is a little bit premature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you got to give him a little bit more time, see where it goes, and see how it progresses. Some of the stuff when I went back through and I watched it, it felt a little bit better on the second viewing. It kind of felt like more accuracy issues than decision making. When I was watching it live, I was kind of thinking it was decision making, but everything he did in some sense is defensible. Those deep balls, like they were open the whole game. Olave was open on every single one of those. The throws just weren't there. The interception to Juwan Johnson, I think that you got to take Mike Thomas underneath, but that pass, the out route that he sailed him on, it was there. There was a throw there. The week before, he hit the same exact throw for 14 yards to Jarvis Landry, same exact play, same situation. So, I didn't see it as like, this guy's making crazy decisions. When I went back through it, it's kind of like, all right, I get what he's doing here. I don't know if you love it, but those are the kind of plays where you got this guy that can throw the ball 60 yards through the air, and if he hits them, he's a hero. And you aren't looking at it and second guessing, why didn't he hit Mike Thomas for 4 yards underneath instead of going 60 yards down the field to Chris Olave? Like, if those are completed passes, nobody's saying anything. I think you got to clean up some of that. I think you got to get him kind of in that rhythm to where he's taking the easier stuff and isn't always trying to push it down the field. And especially in a game like that, I listened to what you guys were saying the other day, and I agree with Jake on some of his points about the decisions. And especially in a game like that, though, like you got to try to not lose the game. And I think that was the difference between Brady and Jameis when I watched it. Brady was out there just basically like, I'm not going to lose this game for my team. And Jameis, it seemed like, was kind of thinking like, all right, I'm going to throw us out of this. And he did a week ago, and credit to him for that. But I think in this game, you kind of you do got to take that Mike Thomas instead of going to Juwan Johnson. But like, it wasn't as flawed when you kind of slow it down and look at it through like a different context.
How much do you think, or do you have any insight here, any idea or any opinion on how much the injuries played into some of those accuracy issues?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they aren't really talking about it too much. I would kind of have to think that I'm reluctant to make excuses for someone, because if you put yourself on the field, you're playing, and you're just, that's kind of how you got to view it. And, out of respect to him, if he's putting himself on the field, I'm talking about him like every single other player, because that's how he wants to be treated if he's playing the game. So, but, I think logically you do have to make it part of the conversation to some degree. And I would have to imagine that having 4 fractured vertebrae in your back affects you somehow. Like, I don't know exactly how. I've never experienced that, but you would have to think it's part of it to some degree. But then on the other end, if it becomes this factor where it's impacting your play and you're unable to do things, then should you be in the game? That's the other question. So it's kind of tough to really know where to draw that dividing line. But I would imagine, I was told that he was experiencing like legitimate pain, like getting out of his car and stuff, and he still put himself out there. So credit to him for being a warrior, getting out there for his teammates, all that stuff. If it is an issue though, like at some point someone has to say something, whether it's him or someone else. And I don't know though. Like, he's skying the ball, like I said, like 60 yards through the air down the field. You look at that on one hand, it's kind of like, all right, well, like he's making these huge throws. And then on the other hand, like they're a couple inches off, and he usually is accurate deep. That's kind of his calling card. So it's tough to know, but I would imagine, just being a person that experiences life as a human, like it has to affect you in some degree when you're in that much pain.
Nick, I want to ask you about the sacks. He takes 6 sacks on the game, and just quickly going back and watching some of the tape, I didn't think the offensive line play was 6 sacks worthy. Felt like they played better than that. What did the film study tell you?
Yeah, look, I think some of his drops are too deep. I think it's been an issue 2 weeks in a row. I think he holds the ball a little bit too long on some of them. That was where some of the decision making, like you got to see some of the stuff quicker. There was one where they left Jarvis wide open on the right sideline on a hitch, and he just didn't see where the blitz was coming from. And like, you got to see that in take advantage of that immediately. And that's a play that, like Breeze, Brady, those guys, when you say you can't blitz these quarterbacks, it's because they see that stuff quickly. He's not, I don't think he's seeing some of that stuff quickly enough. So, I mean, I think that's where I would kind of get on him a little bit more. Yeah, I definitely think that he's the cause through a handful of those. Now they got to get some of their protections right. Like they're letting linebackers free on a couple plays. That was an issue the week before. That's got to get cleaned up. But definitely on some of these, I think he's probably to blame for at least a few of them.
What about talking to Nick Underhill of New Orleans.football? Go sign up for New Orleans.football today. Nick, at the end, you can hand out any sign-up promo codes or anything that y'all got going on. I know it was Trip last week, and I'm still going on, but New Orleans.football is the site. Nick, what is the latest on Alvin Kamara and his injury situation?
I would guess, and look, this is a guess. I would guess that he's able to play this week. I don't think he was that far off last week. He got an injection. There was hope going into Saturday night that it was going to work and he'd be able to play on Sunday. It didn't. I think it was just took a little bit more time. I think it's something where you take a step back so that you can take a step forward in a week instead of taking a step back and then you take a hit and it lingers and all that. So just erring on the side of caution there. And I do think that he ends up playing this week.
Nick, when you look at the schedule coming up, so you're in Carolina, home Vikings, home Seahawks, home Bengals. Bit of a mixed bag there, but the difference, especially early on, between 2-1 and 1-2 feels massive, especially because in many ways you kind of feel like a lucky 1-1 at this point. Does this Panthers game have a little more juice than even you would have thought coming in to the season? I mean, must win is a term you can almost never use in the NFL, but it feels far bigger than it did, I feel like, before the season started, especially because the Panthers have not looked good, and you don't be the first one to give an NFC South divisional rival a win.
I would say that I think there's some urgency to win games now. I mean, your season could get away from you kind of quickly, and then, you got 3 winnable games in a row, and then you kind of get into the thick of your schedule. They got to beat Carolina, Minnesota, Seattle. I think you got to win at least 2 of those 3. And if not, things might be unmanageable kind of quickly. So yeah, I think it's huge. And look, I think their offense has to figure it out like now, immediately, quickly. Like you don't have a lot of time to be messing around with this, and then you're off to London. You don't want to be trying to figure that out while you're dealing with time zones and all that stuff. So like, I think they got to have a good game immediately. And yeah, I think it's critical. And like the elements are that, like, they got to just figure out a way to like, when they started this game, they were doing the rhythm passing quick game. They aren't going down the field. Jameis was kind of making quick reads, getting the ball out. Like, that's how they got to play. When they came out in the third quarter last week against the Falcons, the drive eventually stalled, but like, they started out same thing. You saw the ball moving in rhythm. They're going. You got Mike Thomas. You got Jarvis Landry. You got Alvin Kamara. Get the ball to them. Let them make plays. Like, not everything needs to be this 5-second developing play, shots down the field. Last year they had, I think the second longest time to throw in the league, it was like 3.2, 3.3 seconds. And sometimes that's good, but that can't be your average overall. Like, your plays are developing way too long if you're at that time range. So they got to figure out a way to play football with the guys around Jameis, and it makes sense to get them the ball and allow them to make plays. So look, Mike was doubled last week, so I mean, there's limited opportunities there, but they just got to find a way to manufacture that type of offense. And yeah, I think it's urgent that they figure that out quickly and at least start building towards something. Like, you can't just have 2 good drives per game and then, these 3 hurry up, running your basic stuff, huddling. Like, it can't be what it looks like right now.
Hey, Nick, I want to ask you about a defensive player that we saw for really the most extended period, and that's Alontae Taylor. I thought he flashed on film. I thought he looked good in coverage. What did you see from Alontae Taylor?
I was super impressed. Yeah, same thing. I mean, he came in and he got tested right away. Brady sees 27 coming to the game. He's going at him, and he held up, and he recovered well on one play. Really good pass defense. Looked good. I mean, I would consider, and I don't want to make the statement, but like I would consider trying to find a way to get him, a little more action and just kind of see what he can do. Maybe he can surprise some people the way Adebo did last year. And I think if you got Roby in the slot, that would help with your coverage a lot too. Especially if Adebo keeps missing time. I don't think he's too far away. I keep saying that, but He's walking fine, doesn't have anything on that ankle. Saw him before the game. He was out there throwing the ball around. That all seems like a good sign. But yeah, if there were a way that you could trust him on the outside and get Roby inside if a Debo can't play, I think that's probably your best configuration on defense.
So it sounds like good news on the Debo front, potentially good news on the Kamara front, potentially. Hopefully you get both those guys back this week. You get a Panthers opponent that has not looked good thus far. The defense should have success. Hopefully Jameis can have success. If you had to boil it down to one thing that you need to see Jameis do better in Carolina, Nick, what is it?
I think everything just has to be faster.
Yeah.
Everything just has to happen faster. I mean, it's just the ball you can't be holding it back there, taking sacks, see pressure coming, just get rid of it. I mean, it just seems too and some of the protection stuff's on the offensive line, but it just seems too easy to send a linebacker and make a play right now. It's just crazy. Either they're not picking them up or there's way too much time. You can do a delayed blitz and get there. There's just too many ways to attack them. If the deep guy isn't there, just get to the short stuff very quickly. And again, I thought he did that really well on the opening drive, and then it kind of just didn't happen as quickly as the game progressed. So everything just needs to speed up, happen faster. I don't know if that's chemistry, see anything, whatever, but something has to happen to get that going at a much higher pace.
Well, we will see. We will see. Coming up this Sunday in Carolina, that game's going to be at noon. Again, sign up for New Orleans Football. Any sign up promo codes or anything, Nick?
Yeah, TRIP, 20% off your first payment. Use the code TRIP.
There you go.
TRIP. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. You have a great day, man.